He's absolutely beautiful. They're both doing really well, and we're so thrilled.
When William and Kate first started dating, Carole Middleton wasn't just a regular mother-in-law figure. She was seen by some inside the royal circle as a threat. Carole's middle-class background, her ambitious nature, and how closely she stayed involved with Kate's life raised quiet alarms. Some insiders even said Carole had more influence over William and Kate's decisions than the royals were comfortable with. Tensions came to a head around the time of William and Kate's wedding. While Camilla, now queen, had expected to play a central role during the wedding planning, Carole allegedly took charge behind the scenes. She managed everything from guest lists to minor details, often leaving Camilla feeling excluded and powerless. To many inside the palace, it looked like Carole was positioning herself as the real guiding hand behind the future queen. Camilla reportedly tried to warn Charles and others that Carole's growing influence could be dangerous for the royal family's image. But William trusted the Middletons deeply, which only made Camilla feel more isolated. Every time Carole made a major decision, from holiday plans to influencing how George and Charlotte would be raised, it chipped away at Camilla's sense of control. Years later, it's said that Carole's final bold move truly shattered any hope of repairing the relationship. Instead of staying in the background like most royal in-laws, Carole secured a central role in her grandchildren's upbringing. Sources claim she would even bypass royal protocols, creating a home environment for George, Charlotte, and Louis that felt more Middleton than Windsor. For Camilla, who had fought hard for her place in the royal family after years of scandal, this felt like a personal betrayal. It wasn't one big confrontation that left Camilla in tears. It was years of feeling pushed out, watching as Carole quietly rewrote the traditional royal family dynamic without ever directly challenging anyone. Carole had simply played the long game and won.
I, Catherine Elizabeth.
I, Catherine Elizabeth.
Take thee, William Arthur Philip Louis.
Take thee, William Arthur Philip Louis.
To my wedded husband.
To my wedded husband.
To have and to hold from this day forward.
To have and to hold from this day forward.
For better, for worse.
For better, for worse.
For richer, for poorer.
For richer, for poorer.
In sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health.
To love and to cherish.
To love and to cherish.
Till death us do part.
Till death us do part.
According to God's holy law.
According to God's holy law.
And thereto I give thee my troth.
And thereto I give thee my troth.
Kate and William's 2011 wedding was one of the grandest royal events of the century. Behind the scenes, a much different story was unfolding between Carole Middleton and Camilla. Insiders noticed that some senior royals, including Camilla, treated Carole with a certain stiffness, friendly but cold. The signs were small but impossible to ignore. Conversations that ended when Carole approached, glances exchanged between aristocrats, jokes Carole wasn't included in. It wasn't open hostility, but it was clear Carole was being quietly reminded of the royal pecking order. Adding to the tension, Carole's every move was scrutinized. Her natural, hands-on involvement in Kate's life clashed with the royal way of keeping public distance. At the wedding, even tiny moments were seen by some royals as too common or too emotional. Meanwhile, Camilla was praised for her more restrained, formal approach. Carole was starting to see that in this world, everything mattered, and no matter how polished she appeared, she wasn't one of them.
We never thought we'd be doing this.
Okay, yeah, just come towards us, chatting and...
This was Michael.
Carole's background had always been a point of quiet judgment inside the royal circle. She built party pieces, her family business, from scratch, a proud accomplishment. But to many senior royals and their aristocratic allies, this self-made success didn't earn respect. It made her an outsider. Unlike Camilla, who came from an old money, well-connected family, Carole's working-class roots were seen as a blemish. While no one said it directly, there were plenty of cold shoulders at official events. Kara's suggestions, when offered during planning for family events or gatherings, were politely ignored. Her opinions on child rearing, for example, were often brushed aside with a tight smile or a quick change of subject. She wasn't banned from anything, but doors quietly closed around her. Invitations to certain high-profile royal events became fewer. When Carole did attend, she sometimes found herself left out of important conversations. There was a distinct feeling that no matter how polished or well-meaning she was, she would never be allowed past a certain point. For Carole, who had poured so much effort into raising Kate with strong values and discipline, the message was painful. Her daughter was now a future queen, yet Carole herself was still seen as just the party planner trying to play in a royal world. And as Kate's royal life blossomed, Carole's access to her daughter began slipping away too.
It's a boy. It was expected to be a baby announcement like no other, steeped in centuries-old British royal traditions. A jealously guarded secret released via a bulletin, driven from a hospital to a palace, framed and placed on a royal easel, and only then displayed for the world to see. But this time, in 2013, the celebratory announcement that Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, had given birth to a healthy baby boy came via email.
When Prince George was born in 2013, Carole saw a new opportunity. She wanted to be a present, loving grandmother, the kind who would be there for milestones, school pickups, and Sunday visits. But that dream began unraveling almost immediately. Royal tradition dictated that professional nannies would be hired to raise the future king, and though Carole hoped to have regular private time with George, strict royal schedules left little room for casual family visits. Private moments that she imagined, like rocking George to sleep or helping with first steps, were quietly handed over to trusted royal staff. There were whispers that Camilla, who had long felt uncomfortable with Carole's influence, supported this structure. While Camilla herself had taken a backseat when it came to Kate and William's home life, she allegedly encouraged the palace to stick to protocol, ensuring that a Middleton-dominated upbringing wouldn't happen. Boy found herself gradually edged out. Every plan to see George had to go through palace aides. Every interaction was formalized. Over time, Carole realized she wasn't just losing access to her daughter, she was being pushed out of her grandchildren's lives too. What hurt most wasn't the public snubs. It was the private rejections, the ignored phone calls, the cold responses to suggestions, the birthday parties planned without her input. These weren't accidents. They were part of a quiet strategy to remind her she wasn't part of the inner circle. For a woman who had once imagined being the warm, central grandmother figure, it was a devastating realization. But the true heartbreak came not with public humiliations, but with private rejections that cut even deeper. Prince Charles's 70th birthday was supposed to be a grand celebration of legacy and family. The royal family pulled out all the stops, lavish decorations, formal dinners, speeches filled with praise. Carole Middleton was invited, but even as she arrived, she sensed that the coldness around her hadn't thawed. According to those close to the event, Carole overheard Camilla making a sharp remark. It wasn't loud, but it was meant to be heard. Camilla, speaking to a small group of aristocratic guests, joked about the difference between new money and heritage, laughing about how one can always spot the ones trying too hard. Though Carole's name wasn't directly mentioned, everyone knew who the comment was aimed at. The laughter that followed only confirmed it. This wasn't just a passing comment, it was a deliberate reminder. No matter how wealthy, successful, or polished Carole was, she would never belong. Her family, her hard work, none of it mattered against generations of royal bloodlines and tradition. Carole didn't confront anyone that night. She smiled, she mingled, she left with grace. But inside, something shifted. It wasn't anger that burned inside her, it was something sharper, clarity. She finally understood that no amount of patience, no number of perfect appearances would ever truly erase how the royals saw her. Spoilery. For Carole, that night was a turning point. After that night, Carole's approach changed completely. She stopped trying to integrate herself into royal traditions. She stopped seeking invitations to big royal events. No more pushing for inclusion, no more suggestions about family traditions or advice on how things should be done. Instead, Carole chose quiet withdrawal. She attended only the events where her presence was truly necessary, but she no longer tried to be part of the royal machine. Behind the scenes, she focused back on her own life, rebuilding her business, recentering around her own home, and staying rooted in the values that had brought her family success in the first place. More importantly, she redefined her relationship with Kate and her grandchildren on her own terms. But make no mistake, this wasn't surrender. This was strategy, and it was only just beginning.
I'd just like to say that Carole and I are absolutely delighted by today's announcement and thrilled at the prospect of a wedding sometime next year. As you know, Catherine and Prince William have been going out together for quite a number of years, which is great for us because we've got to know William really well. We all think he's wonderful and we're extremely fond of him. They make a lovely couple, they're great fun to be with, and we've had a lot of laughs together. We wish them every happiness for the future. Thank you.
While the public image showed Carole fading into the background, she was paying close attention. Over time, she began spotting patterns, minor financial irregularities at royal charity events, strange property deals involving royal-associated organizations, expense reports that didn't always add up. Carole also documented instances where her family had been pushed aside, keeping a quiet record of broken promises, snubs, and manipulative tactics. She wasn't planning a public attack, that was never her style. Instead, she was building a silent wall of influence, a way to protect herself and her family if things ever got worse. By early 2024, after years of keeping quiet and staying in the background, Carole Middleton made a move that caught the palace completely off guard. Insiders suggest it wasn't loud or public in the traditional sense. It wasn't a tabloid tell-all or a press conference. Instead, it was something much more strategic, a collaboration, possibly with a respected journalist, or quiet leverage used behind palace doors. The exact details remain closely guarded, but those close to the situation say it had an immediate impact. Based small talk, any detail that she and Rule had shared publicly would have collision with family conversations. The scale of repeatability led to global lore allowing herself the freedom to bubble up or publicize her life. Even the tightest royal circles couldn't ignore it. Camilla was devastated. She hadn't expected Carole to strike back, and certainly not with such precision. To Camilla, it felt like betrayal, a personal affront from a woman she had long underestimated. The tears reportedly came not just from shock, but from a deep fear of what might come next if Carole ever decided to take things further. But here's the thing, Carole didn't need to make dramatic public statements. She didn't need to sit down for explosive interviews. Her years of patience and restraint gave her actions a different kind of weight. People inside the palace knew exactly who was behind the shift, and they knew Carole wasn't bluffing. She had played the long game, and now she was reaping the quiet rewards. For years, Carole had played by royal rules until she realized her greatest strength was playing her own game instead. Carole Middleton's story isn't one of loud rebellion or dramatic confrontations. It's a story of quiet strength, of grace under constant pressure, of silent battles fought behind smiles and carefully chosen words. She didn't shout to be heard. She didn't fight to be accepted. Instead, she chose a different path, one where her dignity stayed intact and where her influence only grew stronger over time. And now, with Kate's star rising higher than ever as a future queen, Carole's quiet resilience may be one of the royal family's most underestimated forces. She has already proven she doesn't need a title to hold power. What do you guys think about Kate? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.